Hello. Hello, everyone. You are welcome back live. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just give me a message. All right, I don't want to waste time. This, as you can suggest from the title of today's live, just comment with an experience, diversity visa lottery, interview experience by one of our guys in Sierra Leone. The interview was conducted in Freetown, the US Embassy in Freetown. So before I get into the interview experience that he has shared, I would like to answer one question as usual. Okay, so this was a question by, the name is difficult for me to mention, but is the question that is important. Usually I would always want to mention the name so that it will look interactive. Mukaya, this question was asked by Mukaya. And the question was like, he wanted to know if you can use a previous passport photo. For example, you've used a passport photo for the diversity visa application last year, and this year he wanted to find out if you can use the old photo again for your new application. And I would want to address that question. The question is simple. You can't use, because the Department of State website, they've stated it very clear that the passport photo should be less than 6 months, right? So it should be less than 6 months. So if it's older than 6 months, you cannot use it. So that's just it. So I hope that question is answered. Quickly, let's go to the interview experience that okay, so like I said, this interview was conducted in Freeman, Sierra Leone, and is a successful interview. He got his his visa approved, which was a good news for us. And this is how it goes. Okay, Benjamin. Benjamin, how are you doing? Yeah, I saw your message in the afternoon, but I was at work. I can't remember if I've applied. I've replied quite a number of those that sent me the message, but I don't know whether I was able to respond to your message. Thank you for joining me live. All right, so this was Diversity Visa Lottery 2023 winner from Sierra Leone. And this was how his experience goes. I find out that I won the green card lottery on May 8th, 2022. The whole process was a bit long, and it required a lot of patience and money too. From the time I found out that I am a winner. I started gathering all the documents required. I have a WASI certificate which indicates that I completed high school. I also have 2 bachelor degrees. I failed my DS2 system on June 12, 2022, and I received my second notification letter on 17th November. Yeah, so that was very, yeah, he was very proactive, which I like it, because usually I encourage people, if you find out that, even not even finding out if you have, I mean, if you have won, as soon as you complete the application and then you submit your application, you have a waiting period of uh, like 5 months. Yeah, the waiting period is usually 6 months or 7 months, because October, November, December up to May should be around 6, 7 months. So the waiting period is too long enough for you to start gathering your documents if you don't have a complete documents. Okay, so I have WASC certificate which indicates that I completed high school. I also have 2 bachelor degrees. I failed my DS2 system on June 12, 2022, and I received my second notification letter on 17th November 2022. Immediately I received the second notification letter, I went ahead to book for my medical examination. That was so proactive. Like I said, okay, so let's continue. I I was booked for November 23rd, 2022. My interview was on January 5th, 2023 at um, at the Freeman Embassy, US Embassy. On the day of interview, I arrived at 7:30 a.m. I stood in a queue with other interviewees for about 15 minutes, after which the security called us in to do some checks before entering the main building. When I entered the main hall where the interviewees were seated, I I was called upon to present my documents so that they can check them and make sure that I have everything. They collected my birth certificate, passport, police clearance, passport picture, my educational certificates as well. But my medical results was sent directly to them by the hospital. So most often, um, the, they usually don't give the medical results to applicants. Usually they'll just send it to the various embassies or the embassy that you are scheduled to take your interview. Okay, so let's continue. I was called upon to present my documents so that they can check them and make sure that I have everything. They collected my birth cert. I've read that. Okay, so, but the medical results was sent directly to them by the hospital. Okay, after submitting the documents, it was a long waited because DV applicants were the last to be interviewed before they started to interview DV winners. We were asked to make payment of 330 or its equivalent to our local currency. I paid and then sat back down and waited. Finally, when my name was called, I went and stood before a white lady. Our conversation was as follows. Okay, so um, this is now the actual interview, and this was how it went. The consular officer asked, "How are you?" And then he said, I'm fine, thank you. Consular officer, when did you finish high school? I replied, did you go to university after? I replied. What did you study? I replied. Do you have a spouse? No, I replied. Any child? No, I replied. You are qualified. Congratulations. Your visa has been approved. You can pick up your passport on blah, 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 blah. And that was my interview experience. To God be the glory. I received my passport on January 12th with my visa in it. Congratulations. All right, so this was a very simple interview and a successful one at that. So, okay. So you realize that this person knew what he was doing even before the results were released in May. He had he knew what was going to happen next. So he started gathering his documents and then making sure that everything was perfect even before he received his interview appointment letter, right? So this is what I always encourage people to do their best to always make sure that, because as soon as you finish or submit your application, it's assumed that you are winning, unless otherwise maybe you have any other reason not to believe that maybe you will win. So most of us in Africa, usually we don't, when we complete high school especially, we have something we call awaiting results. You finish your high school and then your results isn't in yet, you go ahead to apply school. And when you get admission, you don't care to go back to get your uh, high school. So if you're that type, and then you put in the application for the diversity visa lottery, what you need to do is to go back and then make sure that you get all those documents. They've removed the passport, the traveling passport requirement, meaning you can apply diversity visa lottery without the passport. So if you are someone who applied without a passport, what you need to do is to make sure that you start making an arrangement to get your passport, right? Not to wait so that when you win, then you are now chasing after all your documents and time is not, if you're lucky and then you have a lower case number, it means that in the next 2 or 3 months, you'll be called for interview. That is when you will now be looking, running helter-skelter, looking for documents, which you would have done that long time, even before the results are out. So what we can learn from this guy is the fact that he was very proactive. He knew what was next, and then he prepared towards it. Even the interview uh, preparation, I mean, the interview that he attended, you could realize that every question, they had nothing. All the question was just a confirmatory questions, right? It was a confirmatory questions, and he didn't make his case complicated. Complicated in the sense that usually most of us back in Africa, as soon as we win, we want to, I mean, go with our loved ones, and then we end up making our cases very complicated. So please, uh, you can realize from him that he hasn't, I mean, he applied as a single, he won being a single, and then he just decided to continue, I mean, the application with being a single. Had it been that he added someone as a spouse or something like that, it would have complicated the whole thing. Already, our predecessors have spoiled the whole thing. Like, there's serious fraud cases that they have handled before. So if you don't have, even though sometimes you can have a bona fide marriage, but because you are not able to defend or give proofs or give evidence to convince them that your marriage is actually genuine, you make your case very complicated, which I hate to hear such information, right? Okay, so that's it. And there's another question someone asked, and I want to use this platform to address it. He asked this question not in our comment, but one of the groups, the global groups. This question keep bothering me, and the question goes: supposing after you successfully pass the DS-260 interview and you were granted green card visa to travel to America within 6 months before your green card visa expires after 6 months. But due to money issues for tickets and you couldn't travel to America within that 6 months validity, and green card visa expired after the 6 months. My question is, does it mean you will repeat back to zero to start from class one to re-register again for another fresh TV lottery application for another green card visa? Or, okay, this question, what he's trying to understand, starting from the date of visa issuance, um, you are supposed to travel within 6 months, starting from the issuance date. So usually you don't see the expiring date. Okay, so you see the issuance date and then you see the expiring date. So applicants supposed to do what? To travel within 6 months. So his question is, if you're not able to travel within the 6 months, what happened? All right. And this is another simple question. What happened is the instruction is clear that you should travel within that period. So if you're not able to travel within the 6 months, your visa will be revoked. It means your chance to travel to America has taken away from you. It's that simple, right? So you don't have that eligibility to, your visa becomes invalid. So you cannot use it after the 6 months again. So usually it's risky to travel at the last days. So what you need to do is, as soon as you get your visa, make sure that do anything that you could to be able to travel within the 6 months, else your visa will be revoked. So it means you have to forget about it and then prepare for the next application, which is very difficult to, to win. Winning is not an easy thing. So if you see that you are able to win, you are lucky enough to be selected, you just have to thank your stars, right? You just have to thank your stars. All right, so this is a very short video, and I think I've exhausted what I have for you this morning. So I was thinking, all right, so I'll end with you guys here. Okay, there's another new thing that I want to start. I want to start a video call for my audience. So what it means is, if you have any questions, you can write them down, and then I will tell you the time and date where you will call them, you will ask all your questions. Any question that you have, you can, ask them. I'll give you what you need to know, right? I'll give you what you need to know. It could be a video discussion or whatever, like, yeah. So if I start, I'll let you know in the groups. Then I'll let you know when and which date and the time. All right, so having said that, I'll leave you then. We'll meet when I'll have a live coverage again. All right.